Welcome to Sex Ed with DB. I'm your host, DB. Let's get into it. Hello, friends. I hope you're having a great week so far. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another episode of Sex Ed with DB. Today we have on the wonderful Alayna Joy. She is a YouTuber and she is super authentic, really, really kind, such a great storyteller. This is one of the few interviews I feel like I've done where I just feel like I'm not even looking at the interview questions that I have. We're just like bing bong, like back and forth, just like chatting, laughing, talking about real stuff, tearing up. There's a lot of great stuff in this episode. We talk about all things sexuality here. Alayna is a late bloomer lesbian, and we talk all about her journey to getting there. And we also talk a little bit about a sexuality update from yours truly. So stay tuned. Listen into the episode to find out what we're talking about and write into us if you related to this episode or if you like this episode, sexedwithdb@gmail.com. And before we launch into the ep, I want to remind you all about our bestie crew through Curious Sex Ed, hosted by me and Mariah at Sex Ed Files. A little bit about it. We're real sex educators answering even realer anonymous sex ed questions. And we really believe that curiosity around bodies, relationships, and sexuality is for everyone. So we want you to learn with us as we educate about amazing sex ed topics and share a lot of juicy personal stories along the way. And if you want to join, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/curioussexed. And if you want to ask an anonymous sex ed question, you can go to our link tree. We might answer it on the podcast. And the first 3 episodes of Curious Sex Ed are available through Sex Ed with DB, wherever you get your podcasts. And then you can listen exclusively on Buy Me a Coffee. That's buymeacoffee.com/curioussexed. And here I am with Alayna Joy. Alayna Joy, hello.
Hello, Danielle. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely just jazzed that you're here today. I mentioned this before we started, but my editor turned me on to you and she loves you. And so I'm very excited that we are able to get you on the podcast for her behalf, mine, and everyone else's.
What's your editor's name?
Her name is Sadie.
Sadie. Hello, Sadie.
Oh, I'm sure she's going to freak out. That's really awesome. I'm really, really glad to have you here today. Today we're, the overarching topic, why keep our audience in suspense? We're talking about late bloomer lesbianism here. We're talking about hello.
Here we are.
We're talking about late bloomer queerness. And I think that this is a story that hits home for a lot of people, including myself as someone who has recently been identifying as bi, which is really fun.
Hello. Welcome.
Yes.
We're here.
We're queer. Get used to it. And so I'd love for you to just introduce yourself, whatever that means to you. Tell us a little bit about your journey towards becoming a YouTuber. You got like 500,000 subscribers. You're rocking and rolling on there, which is very impressive, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And just tell me like what kind of motivates you and inspires you to create the kind of content that you do.
Oh boy, what a question.
It's like a 5-parter. I apologize.
Yeah, how much time do we have? There's a lot there. I started making content on the internet as I was graduating high school.
Oh, wow.
Yikes. Because I was living in a small town. I grew up in a very small, religious, conservative place. Rural Manitoba, for any of you who are familiar with Canada.
Okay, it's Canada. You're Canadian. Okay.
And I found YouTube, and this kind of becomes a through line in the, over a decade of, time I've been making content. I found YouTube and I found this community. I found a place where people were making videos, they were making friends, they were talking about things that I didn't have people to talk about with in my day-to-day life. And I wanted to be a part of it. I always loved video from elementary school. I picked up my dad's camcorder and I started making music videos with my friends and was hooked. And so it felt like this place that I wanted to be. So I started making just, silly videos as, YouTube circa 2010.
Yeah.
2012 was. And then over time, I guess my sense of community or the desire for a different type of community, that shifted as my kind of identity, my understanding of myself shifted. So I started making more content around mental health as I got a little bit older. Then I realized my own queerness. I started making videos around bisexuality. That community was an incredible place for me because I did not have queer community in my day-to-day life, in my face-to-face, quote-unquote IRL life. I did not have that. So it was huge for me to find that space online and to get to be a part of it. And then, pandemic, COVID hits. And whoopsie, I'm a lesbian. And so, my content as it evolved along with me and I started making videos as myself and here we are today. That's like the quickest version I can give.
That was good. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, by the way, like I've chatted with a bunch of friends about this, like this idea of like, whoops, TikTok made me gay.
Yes.
My friend Daniela, she's the one that kind of like literally wanted to make like a commercial that was like, whoops, TikTok made me gay. Like, here's like a bunch of women specifically that
I'm pretty sure I have a literal YouTube video that's called TikTok made. No, I have a playlist on my YouTube channel. TikTok made me gay.
I don't doubt that at all.
Like, it's real.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what it is. I think it's like the power of the algorithm where like, I like this. I like this. I like this more. And you're just kind of like moving through. But that makes sense. So you kind of like had this like slow realization and journey. So you first were kind of like, okay, maybe I'm bi. And then like more in the more recent years, we're like, actually like the term lesbian like fits me better. Like what was the kind of transition from bisexuality to being a lesbian? And what was the like confusion or excitement or all of the above different emotions that came up?
So TikTok. No, but seriously, so again, there's a lot to dive into. I guess the complicating piece, one of the complicating pieces of my journey, is that I was in a long-term relationship with a man. And I think that relationship was a big part of my not recognizing, that I was gay versus bi, because I hadn't even considered that being gay was an option. Like I knew that I was in this relationship that brought so much joy and fulfillment and companionship and love into my life. And so it didn't occur to me to question my attraction to men. Whereas I'd questioned my attraction to women from a very young age. And so discovering the label of bisexuality was this really beautiful, important moment for me. And so it wasn't like a feeling of like, oh, maybe I'm bi for those years. It was, oh, this is me. This makes sense. This fits. This feels good. It feels right. And then it really was the pandemic hitting and me being kind of, in a lot of senses, taken away from the queer community that I had built. Because I had moved to BC, British Columbia, and I had found kind of a queer community in my city. And then COVID and the lockdown took that away. And it was now just me in my relationship. We were engaged. Wow. And so we were starting to plan this wedding. TikTok is feeding me all the most beautiful like women. Yeah. And it kind of became this pressure cooker of anxiety and fear and just knowing that something really didn't feel right, not knowing what that was. And then as I kind of unwillingly faced this, like, what if I'm gay? That's when kind of that realization really sunk in. Like, once it hit me, there was no turning back. it was like once that possibility came into my mind of
something was unlocked.
Yes. And it was like I couldn't unsee it.
Wow.
And so then we're on to the next chapter. Thus begins.
Right.
The next.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must
tough.
have felt very, I mean, especially because, you know, and I think that a lot of people do share this experience of being like, I've been in this relationship. It is a healthy, like, happy relationship, but like my mind has just shifted to realize something that I don't think I was quite ready or willing or able to articulate before.
Yep.
And that must be really tough, because if you're in a relationship where you're like, oh, I know we're not compatible, or I know that you're not being a very good person to me, or I know X, Y, and Z, it must feel a lot easier. But in your case, that sounds like a really, really big challenge.
Like, even just hearing you say that back to me is like giving me goosebumps, because it's still like, now it's over 3 years later. Yeah, it's just over 3 years later now. And like, I'm still processing the impact of that, and like how truly painful that time was in my life. But also, you know, freeing and beautiful and exciting, and, you know, coming into myself in so many ways. So yeah. There's a lot.
and when it comes to like your public persona, were you kind of like already making those kinds of like videos about like mental health and about like who you were, and then like your platform kind of shifted? Or talk me through like how this happened for you publicly.
Oh God, just another layer of terror. So yeah, my relationship had been very public. My engagement was public. I made my entire channel was about the validity of being bisexual, being a woman, and dating a man, and how it doesn't matter who you're dating, your queerness is valid, your bisexuality, your pansexuality is valid. I stand behind all of that, of course. So then when I realized that I actually wasn't bi myself, there was so much fear around knowing that this was something I couldn't keep to myself even if I wanted to, because I already had this public persona, this kind of public facing life. And I didn't want to be a fraud. I didn't want to be inauthentic, but I was so afraid that I was going to play into all of these negative stereotypes. Like, I was like, oh no, now I am going to feed into everything that I've been fighting against, and like prove or provide evidence for people who believe that bisexuality is just a phase, or you're going to choose a side eventually, or bisexual people can't be monogamous, they're cheaters, whatever those kind of negative beliefs were. I was like, I'm going to come forward with this, and everything I've been fighting for the past 5 to 7 years on my channel is going to mean nothing. And I really was prepared to lose my entire community. I was prepared for, I was expecting, I don't know what I was expecting, but it was bad.
You had a lot of doubts.
A lot of doubts, a lot of fear. But then when I posted the video explaining everything, the re-coming out, I was shocked at not only the level of support, but like you said, the amount of other people who were feeling the exact same way, or who had been in the exact same situation, were on the exact same path of self-discovery, and like me, had never seen anybody talk about it, right? Like, that was the fear, is that I didn't see anybody else on YouTube talking about, like, I thought I was bi, whoops, I'm a lesbian. I've been dating a man for 10 years and just realized I'm a lesbian.
Right.
Like, I didn't know that was an okay way to be. I didn't know that was a valid way to discover your queerness. All of those things. So it wasn't just, not only was it a positive and supportive response, it was so much of, it was building community again in another way.
Yeah.
Like, me too. I'm there too. I'm figuring this out right along with you. I'm 20, I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60. I'm just realizing I'm a lesbian.
First of all, just like congrats is like the wrong word, but just like,
no, I'll take it.
I'm like very happy for you that
Thank
like
you.
and I know for sure that there was like a lot of hardships, a lot of tears, a lot of reflection, probably a lot of therapy, a lot of like figuring out like how to be the most comfortable version of yourself and how to be really like proud about that, especially as a public persona. And I have like following where I can live off of it, but no one knows me on the street, right? And so I understand the idea of like being like having this community and feeling like you need to be honest with them, but being worried about how they're going to react.
Absolutely.
And so kudos to you for like really being brave and like being open and willing to kind of like, okay, this is how I feel and this is what's going on for me. You guys can take it or leave it, but here's what's going on. And that's really powerful. But I wonder if you like, I saw one of your videos a couple days ago about like, oh, here's a Google Doc of like signs that you might be a lesbian. Can you talk about like for people listening who kind of acknowledge that like sexuality is a spectrum? I think that our audience is kind of like the 102 sexuality class instead of the intro class. So they like kind of know about like the Kinsey scale and they know about, you know, the idea that sexuality changes over time. But at least for myself, I'm 30, like for a long time, I was kind of like, yeah, no, like I've had like a crush on a woman and I like have had feelings for women and I look at women and I'm like, they're hot. I find them attractive, like, and not being able to, you know, same thing. I'm engaged to a man, been together for,
congratulations.
Thank you very much. We've been together for 7 years now. And like, I feel so in love with him, so confident about our relationship. And I find it very hard as a woman to be like, yeah, and I am bisexual. And, you know, the questions are like, well, what's going to happen with your relationship? And like, there's a lot of backlash and like things that people don't really recognize. And so I'm wondering if you can just talk through some of the things that were coming up for you when you were in your relationship, being like, what am I thinking about? Like, how does this label feel good for me? Like, what are my like connections that I'm making to feel comfortable using this label?
In terms of bisexuality or lesbianism or what?
Maybe both. Because clearly you were kind of on that path, right? And bisexuality did feel really valid to you and felt very at home. And then eventually you're settling on the term lesbian. So maybe like what was going on for you at both times?
Yeah. I think that for me, feeling able to be open and like feeling comfortable in my queerness while I was dating a man was very much about a desire to not hide and to like be who I am, whether people are going to understand that or not. So it wasn't so much, I think I accepted my own queerness to a point, as we've all seen, within myself enough that I was like, people are going to think what they want to think about our relationship, but it was very important to me that I was seen for who I was, and who I was a queer woman dating a man. So that was kind of the guiding principle behind the bisexuality and like being open with that. And then it's so tricky to speak generally about figuring out labels and figuring out what fits because everybody is so different. I know for me, part of the realization where I couldn't look away from it anymore was when my ex and I opened up our relationship. Basically, when I had a breakdown one day. It was after Ingrid Nilsson released her coming out video. I don't know if you were familiar. She is this content creator. She's been doing content for a billion years. She's very femme presenting. She did a lot of lifestyle content, makeup, beauty. She made a lot of content with her boyfriend at the time. And then, oh God, I'm getting chills again, remembering all of this. And then she broke the internet by out of nowhere, seemingly posting a coming out video saying, I'm a lesbian. I had never seen somebody who looked like me come out as gay. Sorry, it's like I still have a lot of emotion attached to all of this.
Please don't apologize. This is the place to feel and to express.
Yeah. So, like, I am forever grateful to her. But I had this breakdown after I watched that video because I was like, oh God, what if I'm gay? This was 10 years ago, almost at this point. And I brought this to my partner and he was like, okay. So does this mean, that you don't want to be with me? And I was like, no, I want to be with you. And he was like, okay. So are you saying like you don't love me? And I was like, no, I love you. And he's like, okay, so
he's like trying to puzzle.
Yeah, he's trying to understand together. Like he's the most wonderful person on this planet. And he's like, okay, so you're gay, but you want to be with me, you love me, you enjoy our relationship, you want to build our life together. And I'm like, yes. And he's like, okay, so you're gay then? We're sure? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, no, I'm bi. Ha ha ha. Like thinking I just had this moment because I hadn't really explored very much, or I hadn't had a chance to like have relationships with women while I was like open and understanding of my own queerness. Anyway, so we open up the relationship. And I'm going to say maybe 4 or 5 years after that, I started exploring my queerness with women and other queer people, non-binary folks. And that's where I couldn't not look at it anymore. Right. Because there was a stark contrast in my experiences with men and my experiences with queer people. So
like how you saw yourself and how you felt yourself opening up or connecting.
Yes. How I felt myself connecting. That's a really good word. Emotionally, physically, it was like there were parts of me that I thought didn't exist. Like I thought that I was demi-romantic because I thought I just don't experience romance feelings really. Nope. Just gay, dating men. I thought there were a lot of things that I thought were true about my body and the way that my body responded to partners, or didn't respond, that I thought was just my body. Nope. Just gay and dating men.
So fascinating.
Yes. So for me, there was a big experience component to it, which is frustrating for a lot of people who are questioning to hear, because a lot of the people that write into me, a lot of them are women in monogamous relationships with men questioning their sexuality. So it's not helpful for me to say I had to experience it. That's how I knew.
Right.
But the big shift kind of in a more abstract shift was my understanding of the difference between experiencing desire myself and enjoying the experience of being desired. So when I realized that my whole life, what I was mistaking for desire was actually just an enjoyment of somebody else desiring me, it was like, wow. Yes, it was like, oh, wow.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
this
is relevant. It's your own video. I saw a video of yours that was about you being like, you thinking about like all the guy friends that you had and like how you've had a crush on all of them. And I just really love that moment in the video. You're just like, wait a minute.
Yep.
Hold on. You're like live thinking through like what that feels like. And I think this is relevant to this idea of like mistaking your kind of like feelings for how it feels to have someone else feel for you. And I think this is where like the messiness of like of like crushes and friendships and romance can like swirl around here.
Yeah.
And that point is just really interesting to me of like, do I authentically like this, or do I just like that you like me, and like how to parse those feelings
and how to parse out whether they like me or not, how to parse out friendship from romance. Like I didn't understand, I didn't know the difference because I had very, very few experiences of romantic attraction. So I was misunderstanding a lot of my own experience as attraction when that's not what it was. And then when I started experiencing attraction and allowing myself to lean in, like allowing myself to be in that feeling of attraction, like of experiencing attraction myself, that's when it was like, oh, this feels very different than these other things that I thought were attraction in the past. And, you know, I'm still learning my own body. I'm still learning my own, the way that I experience attraction. Yeah. I'm still learning that for myself because I misunderstood it for so many years.
Mm-hmm. When you were a kid, do you feel like there were kind of like these moments of like you would see women either like cartoons or kind of like in real life or in movies and you would be like, oh, like there's an attraction there, but maybe it's related to like the makeout scene of like with a guy or like how did you kind of like connect that from your childhood?
Yeah. See, I didn't make the connection that what I was experiencing was attraction. Like that, the break, there wasn't even, this is something that, how do I explain this? This is part of the reason that this took me so long is like, I genuinely, it didn't occur to me that what I was experiencing was attraction. So there were no mental loop, like gymnastics. There were no jumping through hoops, convincing myself of whatever. It. No, because I didn't, like Meg from Hercules. Yeah. Obsessed. I was obsessed with her.
Of course.
Like that, it was my favorite movie because I loved Meg from Hercules. Yeah. I had this best friend in elementary school that like, when she moved away, I cried for days. I'd break up with a boyfriend and not, like my mom has said to me that she was worried about me because I flew through boyfriends so fast in junior high. Like I had 50 of them and we would break up and I'd be on to the next one. And my mom was like, oh, this is concerning behavior from Elena.
You're like, no, Mom, I'm just in my slut era. Grow up.
Yeah. But she was like, when you break up with someone, like, aren't you supposed to be sad? And I was just like, like couldn't give two shits.
That's so interesting.
So there wasn't this like, I think it was so deep down repressed, but not even repressed because this is maybe a bit of a twisted thing to say. And I don't mean it like, I don't actually mean like this was a good thing because it obviously was not. But maybe in some way that was the benefit of like growing up religious. It was like, it wasn't presented to me as an option that girls could like girls. I didn't know.
Were you Christian or what religion?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Grew up in a religious town, very involved in the church, all of that fun stuff. So it didn't, until Ellen came out.
Right.
Like, I remember the moment. I remember where I was. I remember who I was with, what I was doing when I found out Ellen was gay. Because I was like, wait, women can be gay? I didn't know.
They're allowed?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Wow. That's kind of like calming though, right? I mean, because maybe it would have been a little bit more of a challenge if you had been thinking a lot about it.
Exactly.
Like,
I didn't have that like internal struggle of like, am I gay? Am I this? Am I that? I didn't have that because I was like, well, I like men like they all like everybody else. So that's totally fine. Until high school, I thought that all girls felt the same way that I did about girls. I thought that was just how we all felt, obviously, until I learned that that was not true. When I learned that bisexuality existed, and I was like, oh my God. So not everybody makes out with their best friend and is like super jealous when we date other people, and then all of a sudden we're not friends anymore for some reason when we start dating guys.
You're like soft launching this. This is a very big piece of information here.
Yes.
So that happened to you in high school? Absolutely.
Me and my best friend were like fully dating, but we didn't know.
Were you like, we're just practicing.
Yeah, it was literally like practicing for the boys, or like, this is just like, we're just really close friends.
Wow.
We're just like really close friends.
I would love to see an A24 movie based on this story. I'm sure it's in the works.
And yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There's so much.
Yeah. So it was really kind of like I don't have the ability to allow or even comprehend like how I could be this way if it's not possible for me.
Exactly. I didn't have it. It wasn't in my mind. The concept of being a woman who's exclusively attracted to other women, other queer people, had not entered Elena's realm of possibility. So there wasn't this like deep internal struggle about it. The only deep internal struggle was around the religious piece, which is like a bit separate.
So in a lot of your videos, just transitioning to mental health really quick, you chat about mental health in relation to queerness and identity. And I'd love to know like how you think these topics intersect and any advice that you have for people who are kind of navigating their own mental health, either joy or struggles, like while they're kind of figuring out this potentially large part of themselves.
Another big question from Danielle. I think that the mental health and identity are inextricably connected, but are also things that can be addressed separately. So it's not like you can't have positive mental health. It doesn't mean you can't have can't take care of your mental health and also not be out or also not know about your identity. That's absolutely possible. For me, recognizing who I was and then coming out as that person to the world and then living as that person, it was like seeing the world with color for the first time, you know? So that's a tricky one because there's so much complexity here because I was very lucky in that my family accepts me. I have a community around me. I have a wonderful partner now. And those are all things that contribute to my feelings of well-being. And not everybody has that. So I think you have to look at the balance when deciding how out to live or like how fully to live as your true self. You have to look at your own situation and balance kind of what are the things that I will gain, what are the things that I will lose, that I will maybe lose. A lot of the time you think that you're going to lose somebody and you don't, or maybe you lose them for a little bit and then they come back. And then, you know, prioritizing your safety, obviously, if you're under any sort of control of somebody else, like living with family or you're young, still in school, whatever it is, you know, maybe wait.
Right. It is, you're right. It is really tricky. Like, I feel like if we were having this conversation in the 80s or something, you'd think it would be, we would have like the same answers, which is like a very sad part of it. I do think that like with, at least in the US, like with current legislation under many, many states, like it is actually scary and not safe for many people to come out in whatever capacity. And I just wish that that wasn't the case. And I hope that with the access that most people have to the internet, that online community could potentially serve those folks who are living in a place or with people or in a culture that doesn't accept them for who they are.
And I think that's the best general piece of advice that you can give for mental health and queerness is find community, whether that is in your town, in person, queer meetup groups, or it's the internet, consuming queer content. There's all sorts of different groups, supports that are online, because isolation is
terrible.
It's terrible, and it's a really what's the word? Isolation contributes to depression, anxiety, loneliness, all sorts of things that you don't really want for your mental health.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you feel like there are people around you in your community who have come out or who have talked to you about coming out, the most protective thing that you can do is say, I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. I love you for who you are. Let me know how I can support you. Here are some organizations that, we can, look to get resources or community or advice. And I think that is like a very easy script that you can follow if you're on the receiving end of somebody coming out or kind of struggling with their identity.
Yeah, that's a really important piece.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about like your audience. And I think like, someone like you who has like 500,000 or more, like that's a lot of people who are looking to you and who are consuming your content and your everydayness and just like want to be around you. And I'm sure that there has been a lot of kind of interactions that have had mixed bag, but I'm sure there are some that stick out that are really, really positive, where people have told you their, what your impact has been on them. And I would love if you have any stories or kind of like, any really rewarding kind of feelings that have come up for you doing this.
I mean, yeah, it would be hard to pick one because I'm lucky. My audience are this group of wonderful people. So 99% of the interactions I have are like these positive, connecting experiences. One that stands out to me from recently was, I was in a coffee shop and I walked into the coffee shop. I sit down with my coffee and this woman's kind of sitting at a table, close to me. And she kind of reaches over and she's like, hey, I just wanted to say, like, I love your podcast. I love your content. Or she said, yeah, I love your podcast and I love your YouTube content, of course. Just wanted to say hi. And I was like, oh, great. Nice to meet you. And I keep doing my stuff, whatever. And then she gets up to leave. Her and she was with a guy. And she comes back over. This is maybe like 30 minutes later. And she's like, okay, I just wanted to say that I hate what I said before, and this is what I really wanted to say. And then she talked about bisexuality and how included she felt in my content, and she said all of these really lovely, wonderful things. She's tearing up, I'm tearing up. Like, it was a really nice moment, but it stands out to me because of the like return after like already saying hi. And it made me think, because every time when I meet somebody, after I meet them, they walk away, I have this anxiety, like, oh, I hope that was okay. Like, I hope that I was nice.
Up to their expectations.
Yeah, I hope that I wasn't too nervous. I hope that I wasn't awkward, all the social anxiety things. And that was like, the first thing she said was lovely. Like, she said whatever it was that she said about the content. I was like, thank you. Oh, you made my day. But then the fact that she felt she needed to come and like say, that wasn't good. I hated what I said. Here's like what I actually wanted to say. I was like, okay, we're all in this together. We're all nervous.
Everyone feels fucking weird about this, but we like want to interact with each other.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the just ordinary life of like meeting someone that you really admire. And, like, we're all just people, like, living on this fucking floating rock, just, like, trying to figure our shit out. Like, some are obviously, like, way more privileged and, like, lucky than others. But at the end of the day, like, when you meet someone who you really admire, you're like, oh, they're just, like, a person who, like, just takes a shit every day like the rest of us. And, like, just, like, like we build these people up in our head.
Absolutely.
And, like, you're definitely one of those people for other people, and you have those people. And it kind of, like, continues, right? Like, it's kind of like this never-ending thing with this culture of celebrity that we have. And it must feel really fun and nice and really, like, rewarding when someone comes up to you. But I can understand that anxiety of just being like, oh, God, like, I hope they like me. Yes. Yeah. It's like, I hope they like me times 10 because they have this idea of me from everything that's online. And it's like, am I living up to that idea in day to day? And then there's just the strange component of like, you know so much about me and I know nothing about you. Totally. Like I am a familiar face to you. You are a stranger to me.
So there's such a, it's a complex dynamic for sure.
That's how I feel with basically the only podcast I listen to is Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard.
Okay.
And I've just listened to like thousands of hours of it, it feels. And this thing where people are like, I have a parasocial relationship with you. And if I ever like meet them, right, there's this idea in my head of like, oh my God, I like know so much about them and they know nothing about me. And it's really a bizarre thing. And I kind of think about that for this podcast of like, there are people out there, according to our data, who are listening to this right now. And I know nothing about you. And, if you are so inclined, like listener, write into me and say hello and just like let me know who you are so I can feel like, I get to know you too.
That's the cool thing about meeting people out on the streets and like people coming up and saying hi is like, oh, it's a face. Right. Oh, you're a real person. You're somebody that's watching, that's listening. So then when I get those moments of like, what am I doing here? Who am I talking to? What's the point?
You're literally talking to your phone or your camera and you're like, what the fuck? What is this?
Exactly. I can remember those faces and it's like, oh, okay, I'm speaking to this person. I'm doing this for this person. Or I'm doing it for little me who didn't have that representation,
that's really
right?
Sweet. That's really, really sweet. Well, I can tell you as someone who now knows you IRL that you definitely measure up. You are exactly how your videos are. I am a new fan, but definitely a big fan of your work and just everything that you do and how you approach everything and your authenticity. It's really, really refreshing. And it's been great chatting with you and getting to know you.
Yeah. Thanks for reaching out. I'm glad that this worked.
Of course.
I think it's obviously so important what you're doing, all of the sex education. And like, I go on your Instagram and I go through your reels and stuff and I'm like, oh, wow, she's like, you're giving, well, what you said, I think it was before we were recording. You said providing the sex education that women never had.
Yeah.
True. Like that is what you're doing. And I'm grateful. And I'm sure all of your viewers and listeners are grateful too.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Where can people find you? We don't want to end this interview without giving you some plug space. Right.
So I'm Miss Fender with 2 R's on pretty much everything. Mainly YouTube and Instagram. Some TikTok, I dabble. And I also have a podcast, the Chosen Family Podcast. Me, Ashley, and Mac, we're the gay family you never had.
Love it. And that's, I'm assuming, on all platforms.
Yes. Anywhere you get your podcasts.
On all platforms. Well, Alayna Joy, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a lovely, lovely conversation, and I can't wait to tune into more of your content.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this come out. I hope it helps.
Our creator, host, and executive producer is me, Danielle Bezalo. Our producer and communications lead is Catherine Cohen. Our associate producer and communications coordinator is Sadie Luigi. Our marketing coordinator is Kate Fiala. Our music theme is by Hook Sounds. Thanks so much to our featured guests, partners, and listeners. Want to partner with us? Email us at sexedwithdb@gmail.com. For more sex ed content, follow us on Instagram at sexedwithdbpodcast and on TikTok at sexedwithdb. For exclusive content and to submit an anonymous sex ed question, check out my new podcast on Fridays, Curious Sex Ed, hosted with Mariah Caudillo of Sex Ed Files. Go to buymeacoffee.com/curiousSexEd to learn more. See you next time.